I never thought I'd be writing this, but here I am, dealing with everyone turning against me over what they're calling domestic abuse. Like, seriously, I'm a 32-year-old teacher, not some monster they're making me out to be. I literally shape young minds for a living, but I guess I should start from the beginning so you understand how ridiculous this whole situation is. My name is Stephanie, and until recently, I had what most people would call a perfect setup. Great job teaching fifth grade, nice house in a good neighborhood, and a husband who makes good money working from home as a financial consultant. I mean, George and I used to be that couple everyone envied. Used to be. Funny how things change when people start taking everything you do the wrong way. I noticed something was off a few months ago. George started acting different, like he couldn't wait for me to leave for work each morning. He'd practically rush me out the door saying he needed to focus on client calls. Whatever. I'm not stupid. I could tell he was just happy to have me gone. The way his whole mood would shift when I'd walk in after school, going from laughing on the phone to barely looking up from his computer screen, it's like he'd rather be alone than spend time with his own wife. But here's the thing nobody seems to get. Marriage takes work. And sometimes you need to be firm to keep things in line. Sure, there have been some heated moments between us. Show me a couple that doesn't have those. Like that time I caught him texting his brother about our private business, or when he forgot our anniversary because of some big client meeting. You have to set boundaries, right? I'll admit maybe I've gotten a bit passionate during arguments, but George isn't exactly innocent here. He does this thing where he just shuts down, stops responding, acts like I'm not even there. Do you know how infuriating that is? To be completely ignored by your own husband? And then he has the nerve to act all victim like when I try to get his attention. The funny thing is, everyone at school thinks I'm this super patient, nurturing teacher, and I am. You should see how well I handle 25 kids all day long. But somehow my own husband can't handle a normal married couple's disagreement without acting like I'm some kind of threat. Please. If anything, he's the one making our relationship difficult with all his passive aggressive behavior. Looking back, I probably should have seen the warning signs. How he started spending more time working and less time with me, taking his laptop to different rooms whenever I tried to talk about our issues, making excuses about client calls when I wanted to discuss important things. It's like he was building this whole narrative about me being difficult just because I refused to let him walk all over me. I mean, what kind of husband actively tries to avoid his wife and then acts all surprised when she gets upset about it? George used to be different. Or maybe he was just better at hiding his true colors. Either way, I never thought our normal marriage problems would end up where they did, but I'm getting ahead of myself. All I know is I didn't sign up for a marriage where my husband treats me like I'm some kind of problem he needs to escape from. If anyone's the victim here, it's me. But just wait until you hear what happened next, then you'll understand exactly what I'm dealing with. I still remember the exact moment everything started falling apart. I was grabbing George's phone to order takeout since mine was dead. Totally normal thing couples do, right? That's when I saw them. All these messages to my parents about how I supposedly abuse him. Can you believe that? My own husband snitching to my parents like some scared little kid. He had told them everything. About the time I broke his stupid gaming console because he was ignoring me. About how I sometimes throw drinks when he makes me angry. Even about that one time I slapped him for talking back to me in front of his friends. Like, hello, if you don't want me to react, don't disrespect me. But no, he made it sound like I'm some kind of monster. I confronted him right there in his home office. He had the nerve to act all calm, saying he needed support and was concerned about my anger issues. My anger issues? Please, if he didn't do things to make me angry, I wouldn't have to react. That's when he dropped the bomb. He'd been documenting everything, taking pictures of broken things, saving texts where I threatened him. As if me saying I'll make his life hell if he leaves is a threat? That's just marriage talk. I lost it, I admit that, but wouldn't you? Finding out your own husband has been building some kind of case against you, telling your parents all your private business? I grabbed his phone and threw it against the wall. He just sat there all quiet like he always does, which made me even more mad. Then he had the audacity to say, "This is exactly what I'm talking about, Steph." You know what really gets me? My parents actually took his side. My own mother called me that night, saying they've been worried about my behavior for years, that they've noticed how I treat George at family gatherings, how I belittle him and make scenes when I don't get my way. She even brought up things from before we were married, like that time I keyed my ex's car. Ancient history, if you ask me. I told them all they were overreacting. So what if I get a little passionate sometimes? That's just who I am. I'm not some Stepford wife who sits quietly and takes it when her husband acts out. George knew exactly who he was marrying. He used to say he loved how fiery I am. Now suddenly he's playing victim because I don't let him walk all over me. The worst part is, after all this drama, George started spending even more time avoiding me, locking himself in his office all day with his precious client calls, acting all jumpy whenever I'd come near him, like I'm some kind of threat. If anything, his behavior just proved my point. He's weak. A real man wouldn't go crying to his wife's parents about normal relationship stuff. The next 6 months were like living with a ghost. George barely looked at me anymore, let alone touched me. Every morning, same routine. He'd be in his office before I even woke up, door locked on his important calls. Please, I knew he was just hiding from me. The few times I did catch him in the kitchen, he'd practically sprint back to his cave with his coffee, muttering about deadlines and client meetings. I tried everything to get his attention. I'd barge into his office during his calls, demanding we talk about bills or house stuff. He'd just mute himself and give me this empty stare, like I wasn't even worth arguing with anymore. Sometimes I'd stand in his doorway until he had to acknowledge me, but he'd just put on his noise-canceling headphones and turn his back. The disrespect was unreal. Remember when I said we used to be that couple everyone envied? Well, now we were barely a couple at all. No more date nights. No Netflix on the couch, nothing. He stopped asking about my day at school, stopped sharing his work drama with me, even stopped eating dinner with me. Said he preferred to eat while working. Yeah, right. More like preferred eating alone than dealing with his wife. The worst part was how he acted when other people were around. All fake smiles and everything's fine when his family visited. But I noticed how he'd flinch if I moved too quickly, or how he'd position himself near the door in every room, like he needed an escape route. Drama queen? Much? Then he started making excuses to skip my family gatherings altogether, claimed he had too much work or wasn't feeling well, made me look bad in front of everyone. I'll admit things got heated sometimes, like when I found out he'd opened his own bank account without telling me, or when I discovered he was saving texts from our arguments in some folder called documentation. Who does that? When I confronted him about it, he just sat there with that annoying calm voice saying stuff like, "I need to protect myself and this isn't healthy anymore," as if he's some kind of relationship expert. You want to know what's really rich? He started going to therapy behind my back. Therapy. Like I'm some kind of problem he needs professional help dealing with. When I found the appointment receipts, he actually said it was because he was afraid of me, afraid of his own wife. This is the same man who used to say he loved my passion, my fire. Now suddenly he's acting like I'm some kind of monster just because I refuse to be ignored. Looking back, I guess I should have seen what was coming. All those client calls that got mysteriously longer, the way he started password protecting everything, how he'd only text me instead of talking face to face. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened next, the day he finally pushed me too far. My car had been acting up for weeks, making this weird noise that was driving me crazy. Obviously, we needed to discuss getting me a new one. I mean, I'm a teacher. I can't be late to work because of car troubles. But every time I tried to bring it up, George would brush me off with his usual, "Not now, I'm working" excuse. That Thursday morning, I decided enough was enough. I walked into his office, right in the middle of one of his precious client calls. He was doing his whole financial consultant act, talking all professional about investment strategies or whatever. I stood there waiting for him to acknowledge me, but he just held up his finger like I was some kind of interrupting student in his classroom. We need to talk about the car situation, I said, loud enough so his client could probably hear me. George muted himself and gave me that condescending look I hate so much. I'm with a client, he whispered. We can discuss this later. Later? That's all you ever say. Later, later, later. I was done being dismissed. When exactly is later, George? When my car breaks down completely? He just turned back to his laptop, unmuted himself, and continued the call like I wasn't even there. Like I was invisible in my own house. That's when something in me snapped. Before I even realized what I was doing, I grabbed his stupid laptop and threw it as hard as I could. I didn't mean to hit him, honestly. I was just aiming to break his precious work computer, but it nailed him right in the back of the head. The sound it made, I'll never forget it. Like a crack and a thud all at once. His client was still talking on the other end when the laptop smashed against the wall and fell to the floor in pieces. George just sat there for a minute, holding the back of his head. When he finally turned around, the look in his eyes was different. Not scared like usual, but empty, like something had broken inside him too. Are you happy now? I demanded, trying to keep control of the situation. Maybe next time you'll listen when I'm trying to talk to you about something important. He didn't say a word, just stood up, still holding his head, and walked past me like I was a ghost. I heard him grab his keys and leave. Whatever, I figured he just needed to cool off. But then hours passed and he wasn't answering my texts. Not that I was worried or anything. He was probably just being dramatic as usual. 2 days later, I found out he'd gone straight to his parents' house. Apparently, they took him to the hospital when his headache wouldn't go away, and he kept getting dizzy. Turns out he had a concussion, which, by the way, seems totally excessive. I mean, it's not like I threw it that hard. But of course he had to make a huge deal out of it, getting medical records and everything. Then came the papers. I was just scrolling through Facebook, posting about how men these days can't handle strong women, when there's a knock at the door. Some guy hands me court documents. George was pressing charges for domestic assault. Assault? Can you believe it? He's over 6 feet tall and I'm 5'4", but apparently throwing a laptop at someone's head is assault now. Give me a break. I did what any normal person would do. I went straight to Facebook to set the record straight. Posted this whole explanation about how George was being ridiculous, acting like he was dying from a little bump on the head. I mean, yeah, I threw the laptop, but he was totally asking for it by ignoring me. I even wrote, if you can't handle a laptop to the head, maybe you're not man enough to be married. My friend Ashley thought it was hilarious, gave it one of those crying laughing emojis. But then things got weird. People started screenshotting my posts and sending them to my school. Next thing I know, I'm being called into the principal's office like one of my students. They put me on administrative leave pending an investigation. Me, their best fifth-grade teacher. All because I posted about a private matter between me and my husband. That's when everyone started turning on me. My so-called friends stopped liking my posts. People I'd known for years started unfriending me. Even my work bestie, no, not Ashley, she's still Team Stephanie, stopped answering my texts after I sent her a totally reasonable rant about how George was ruining my life. The worst was when my school's HR department called. They'd seen my Facebook posts, which, by the way, were just me being honest about my marriage, and said they needed to review my position. Apparently, someone sent them screenshots of me commenting that a little physical correction never hurt anyone. On someone else's relationship post. Like, hello. It was obviously a joke. I tried explaining to everyone that this was all just George being oversensitive. So what if he had to miss a few days of work because of dizziness? So what if his laptop was broken? He's a big boy. He'll get over it. But no one seemed to see it my way. They were all acting like I'd done something horrible. Even my parents sided with him again. My own mother had the nerve to say she wasn't surprised this happened, that she'd seen this coming for years. What's that supposed to mean? Just because I've had a few heated moments in past relationships, just because I might have thrown a few things before, that doesn't make me some kind of violent person. But I wasn't worried. Not really. I mean, what judge would take this seriously? George was obviously just trying to get attention, playing up his injuries for sympathy. I figured once we got to court, everyone would see how ridiculous this whole thing was. Boy, was I in for a surprise. The court date was a complete joke. George's lawyer had everything: screenshots of my Facebook posts, medical records from his concussion, pictures of the broken laptop, even videos he'd apparently been secretly recording of my outbursts. Talk about betrayal. The judge didn't even seem to care that he'd been documenting stuff behind my back like some kind of creep. Then they brought up my past, every single little incident. The time I keyed my ex's car in college, that restraining order from my old roommate, which was totally bogus, by the way, even write-ups from previous teaching jobs that I'd managed to keep quiet. George's lawyer made it sound like I had some kind of pattern of behavior. Please, I just don't let people walk all over me. The judge didn't see it my way at all. 1 year suspended jail sentence, which means I'm one tiny mistake away from actual prison. 3 years probation, like I'm some kind of criminal. Mandatory anger management classes twice a week, which I have to pay for myself. A permanent restraining order keeping me away from George. And the cherry on top, I have to pay him $5,000 for his laptop and medical bills. But that's not even the worst part. The State Board of Education got wind of everything. Apparently, having a domestic violence conviction makes me unfit to work with children. They suspended my teaching license. Suspended. 10 years of teaching down the drain because my husband couldn't handle one bad day. I had to move back in with my parents, the same ones who took George's side through this whole thing. Mom keeps leaving anger management books on my bed like I'm some teenager who needs fixing. Dad barely talks to me, just gives me these disappointed looks over his coffee cup every morning. They're making me pay rent. Can you believe it? Their own daughter. Nobody in our town will hire me now. I've applied to every private school within driving distance, but as soon as they Google my name, it's all, we've decided to go in a different direction. I even tried getting a job at Target, but surprise, they don't love hiring people with assault convictions either. My lawyer says I should just plead guilty to everything if anything else comes up, show remorse, try to get my record expunged in a few years. Remorse for what? Standing up for myself? Being a strong woman who doesn't take crap from anyone? George is the one who should feel remorseful for destroying my whole life over one little incident. Everyone keeps saying I need to accept responsibility and acknowledge my actions. Whatever. They don't understand what it's like to lose everything because your husband decided to play victim. I might have lost my job, my house, my reputation, and my marriage, but at least I still have my dignity. I refuse to apologize for being who I am. The worst part is I have to see him move on with his life through mutual friends and social media. He's already got some new job, moved to a different city, probably telling everyone his sob story about his crazy ex-wife. Meanwhile, I'm stuck here living with my parents, trying to figure out how to rebuild my life with a criminal record. But you know what? None of this is my fault. If George had just listened to me about the car that day, if he hadn't been so obsessed with his stupid work calls, if he hadn't gone crying to everyone about our private business, none of this would have happened. I'm the real victim here, even if nobody else sees it that way. If this confession kept you hooked, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We share powerful true stories every day that explore the complex realities of life.